So my Fisher Minute mount, as you can see, is struggling a bit, and it acts like it's out of fluid, but it's not. So we're going to rip that pump motor apart and check the screen. I expect that screen is probably clogged, but I'm thinking it's ice. I'm sure moisture has gotten into my fluid, and that's what's clogging the screen, because it only really happens when it's really cold out or really quite windy with a cold wind chill. So let's go ahead and start ripping that apart. I'm outside here today, so we want to get it done fast. And my drain plug, incidentally, is stripped out. It was that way when I got it, so I'm going to have to use a turkey baster or something to get the old fluid out. So let me get some tools here, start ripping that thing apart. Alright, so this is a 9/16, so I'm going to start by removing this lead. And I've got a catch pan I'm going to use to keep all the washers and nuts in. Hopefully I don't lose anything in the snow. What I've been doing when it's giving me fits is taking a blowtorch. I've been heating up the reservoir, and then I kind of give it a couple of taps, and you'll see why. If it looks the way it's looked in the past when I pulled it apart, you'll see the screen is going to have basically a layer of, it's going to look like wax or emulsified oil probably. And let me get that back one off here. Of course, it is snowing out right now, so it's not ideal to be doing this today. Mine, this is a 5/8, and this lead back here, I'm just going to pull the bracket off. I don't know if you can see it. It's actually on the bracket, so I'm going to remove the pump bolt, or the motor bolt rather. And I don't have a gasket, so I'm going to be real careful with it. And that could be where the moisture is coming from, but we've got another blizzard coming at us right now, and I don't want to have to mess with this. So I'm just gonna change the fluid, and then this summer I'll do a complete purge of the system and replace all the fluid, because obviously I'm not going to be purging the fluid in the rams. Okay, because I don't want to lose any washers. One thing about working outside, I can't stand working with gloves on. Some of my videos I've tried to use those latex gloves, and I start out okay, but I really can't get used to working with gloves. So I may, my hands get cold, I'll stop the video and warm them up. And there's a washer there too. Alright. That pump motor should lift right off. And I'm going to actually set that inside. Alright, so you can see the top of the pump. The motor basically sits on top of this and turns, then it ends up pumping the hydraulic fluid. This is the gasket I'm talking about. I wish I had one. So I'm going to be real gentle with that because I don't have one today. I'm going to use, I already mentioned, the fill plug. It's a hex plug on the bottom, and it's stripped. I tried to get it out. I had no luck, so I'm going to have to wait until summer. And I'm just going to go old school here with the turkey baster method, and you'll be able to see once we get the fluid down, there are 4 pump bolts, and we'll pull that off, and that's where the screen is. And there's also an O-ring we're going to want to check. So let me, I'm going to put the camera inside. I'm going to go ahead and get this fluid out of here, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so these bolts here, there's 4 of them, are 1/2 inch, and I'm going to use a swivel extension. It just gives me a little bit of play so I can stay away from that gasket. And there are washers on those, I know, because the first time I pulled this thing apart, obviously it had fluid in it, and I ended up having to dig around down at the bottom to get the washers that I dropped. Just going to leave that there for now and then take my gloves off and see if I can get it out of there without dropping the washers again. If you're having this problem and it's not related to the cold, I mean, obviously it could be something else. I've read on line in forums that the screen, the pickup screen itself, can come loose, or there's an O-ring that could be leaking. So let's take a look at that. When I get this out of there, I'll actually go in the garage where we can get a better look at it. Okay. And you can see there is debris underneath where that pump is too. So we're going to want to get all that out of there. If I remember correctly too, the bolts are different lengths, so you want to take note of that. Alright, so take a look at that screen, and if I rub my finger on it, I don't know if you can see, it's like a, well, it looks like a wax, but I think what it is it's emulsified oil, so my oil has moisture in it, and obviously having it open out here in the weather isn't going to help, but that's what's causing the problem. And what I was doing was taking a blowtorch, and then I would basically hit it with a rubber mallet a few times, and I think it would shake some of that off. So I'm going to change out the oil here. I'm going to go inside and spray this down with some brake parts cleaner, and I'll bring the camera along so we can get a closer look at this. Alright, so let's take a look at it here before I clean it off. I don't know if you can see that on the screen at all. If I take my finger and rub it away, you can see it's like it looks like a wax of some sort, but I think it's just water mixed with the hydraulic fluid, and the pump sucks that in, clogs up the screen, acts like it's not getting any fluid, or acts like it's out of fluid, but it's just not getting any fluid. So what I'm going to use is actually I don't have any brake parts cleaner, so I have electronics cleaner. What you want is something that's obviously going to leave a residue. You want to get that all off as much as you can. So I'm going to go ahead and spray that down. If you take note of the bolt links too, there's only actually two that seem to protrude down like that. And I'm going to leave them in the position they're in. And then there is an O-ring on the bottom. You're going to want to inspect that. And if you have one, possibly even replace it while you have the pump motor out. And it looks to be like there's an O-ring in there as well. So let me get this cleaned up, and then I'll go clean out the reservoir, and we'll put it back together and see how it works. Alright, you can see I've got it pretty clean. I took a rag, I worked carefully around this gasket here, but I got the whole bottom of the reservoir pretty much clean, all the sludge is out of it. The only thing I wish I would have done when I had the opportunity was to push this top ram down. We could have gotten a little more fluid out of it. But this right now is just going to hopefully get me through the winter, and in the summer I'll do a full maintenance on it, and I'll purge both angle rams and the top ram. So let's go ahead and put the pump in. You can see that screen looks a lot better. You can see my finger through it. Or I can, maybe, yeah, you can see it. So that should work a lot better for us. And if I can get this back together without it getting too much more moisture in it, we'll be in good shape. Remember the screen was frontward because this reservoir is tipped down this way often. And that's where it's going to pick up the fluid the most. So let's go ahead and see if we can get that down there without dropping anything. And remember, the two corner ones are the only ones that thread in. I wasn't aware of that. So if you're just pulling the pump out and not taking the pump apart, it's really not necessary to remove these other two corners. So, and I didn't notice it when I took it out before. I did notice that that they were longer than the other, but I didn't notice that there were no thread holes. Last time I took it out, I didn't take the fluid out either. So, all right. Again, those are 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm actually going to use the the Fisher oil. I know a lot of guys use this hydraulic fluid. This Fisher oil is probably 3 times as much. But when I do the videos, I try to use the right stuff. So, and also I'm hoping to not have problems with it for the rest of the winter. So, one thing the manual says is do not fill it through this pump motor access. I'm just going to basically fill it up to, you know, till it's above the screen, and then I'll fill it up the rest of the way you're supposed to after I put the motor on. It's just going to make it go a lot faster for us. Alright. Let me go get the pump motor here. We'll get that mounted, and then we'll fill it up the rest of the way and give it a shot. See how it works. Alright, so if you remember, the terminal was on the outside, so the pump goes like that. There's a slot in here, and there's a seal right here you're going to want to be careful of as well. And you need to match that slot up with the flat parts of this pump shaft, obviously. So if you could look down, see where that slot is, and then try to line it up. That's what I'm going to do. Just like that. Alright, now we're going to put the bolts in. And they each had like a star lock washer on them. These were 5/8, I believe. Alright, so I'll just mention, because I actually missed it, don't forget to put your bracket on the back there. It goes on the pump bolt. So now we just need our connector. So hopefully in the summer what I'll end up doing is purging the entire system. I also need to address the 9-pin connector. I know they sell an aftermarket kit for that, or like a harness. Not the entire harness, but just a replacement of the connector. So I may end up doing that as well. So I'm going to tighten this down. Alright, so got this little rubber cover that goes back here over this terminal, slides down over the bracket. Want to forget that. Everything needs to go back where it came from. Okay, let's pull this plug here, top it off. And actually what I'm going to do is try to get it to lift, and then I'll push that ram down, and the top ram, and then top it off all the way. What I've done is I've just put some of that Fisher fluid in this bottle here. Alright, so it did come up. Didn't angle very well, and I expect that's because when you top the fluid off, I did push the top ram down. And we're just going to top it off and run it a little bit, and then check it again. I think we're done. Hopefully this video has been helpful. Hopefully I'll get into this Fisher plow a little bit more when the weather permits. And if you're running into this problem, you know, again, you can always take the blowtorch method. And I'm hoping this little quick fix here I've done today will help eliminate my having to do that this winter. So, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, and you like this kind of video, I've got a few more you might enjoy. Hit that subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, leave them below. And as always, if you want to give me that thumbs up, I appreciate those as well. Thanks for watching, and have fun.